Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone! This video has nothing to do with St. Patrick's Day whatsoever. It just happens to be going up on St. Patrick's Day. This video has everything to do with Alice in Wonderland and parties mixed together. So, you know what would be the best sponsor in the world? Mini eggs. So we had a 30th birthday party for my sister a couple weekends ago now, and it was Alice in Wonderland themed. So today I'm just gonna be taking you guys through all the DIYs that we did, everything that we did to put together the party, because we did it pretty much all ourselves. We didn't buy any Alice in Wonderland actual like stuff or anything, so I'm just gonna be taking you guys through everything that we did in case you're interested in making some DIYs for your own Alice in Wonderland parties. Let's just get right into it. But first, mini egg break. So the party was actually a collaborative effort between me, my mom, and a little bit of my dad. So the fun starts outside, which I actually didn't get footage of. But basically, my dad just put these purple lights outside. So when people like pulled up to the house, there was purple lights outside. And then once you walk in the door, to the right, we had like an archway of cards, which was just literally a couple packs of cards taped to the archway. Super simple, super easy, but very effective. And then once you get in the door and you look to the right, we had this big frame sitting on an easel, and it said something about welcome to the madhouse, we're all mad here, you'll fit right in, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head because it was like a week ago. I don't think I have any footage of my mom making this, but it's just a piece of Bristol board with letters cut out, and she glued it on, and then she just printed out a little picture of the cat's mouth and glued that on as well, stuck it in an old frame that she had, and set it on an easel so people could see it when they walked in. When you turn slightly to the right from that sign, that's when you get to the stairs. We had the party in the garage, so you walk in the front door and you go down the stairs, and we had a couple of curtains hanging there, so it was kind of like you went down the rabbit hole. And when you go down the stairs and you go in the curtains, we had another purple light, just trying to like, you know, just getting the whole like moody vibe of Alice in Wonderland falling down the hole, because everything's kind of purple and colorful and stuff like that. And what was really cool is that the floor is actually already checkered down there, so it kind of worked with the whole theme. But on the walls, basically, my mom just had a bunch of keys that she cut out of Bristol board, as well as some cards that she cut out of Bristol board. The giant cards were just made out of one piece of white Bristol board cut into different sections, and then we went ahead and cut out like the decorations on the cards out of colored paper, so like the A and the spades and the hearts and that kind of thing. We cut it out of colored paper and just glued it on. So that's basically all that was there. And then she did actually have a couple of hanging frames off to the right hand side as well, which was actually just paper. She had this like pack of paper that had like picture frames on it for some reason, so she just cut like the center out of it and hung them, because a lot of the Alice in Wonderland inspo pics we were looking at had like picture frames, so she hung those off to one side. And then as you walk down the hallway a little bit more, you get to our sign that we made that unfortunately we misspelled one of the words. Let me know in the comments down below if you know which one it was. We took pieces of foam core and we cut them out into like little arrow shapes. We painted them like a grayish color, and then we used stencils to write down the words that we wanted, like Wonderland, this way, that way, down here, tea party, you know, the iconic sign you always see when you like look up Wonderland Party inspo pics. And then my dad made like this wooden post so that my mom could glue them all on. So we had like a post that the signs were sticking to. When you look to the left of the sign, we had like a little desk there, like a little table. After I did the video, we put jello shots down there, and above it there was a sign. It was just made out of black Bristol board, and I used white paint to put the words, read the directions and directly you'll be directed in the right direction, because the doorknob says that to Alice when he tells her to eat the little like thingy, and it makes her small. So we put that above the jello shots, and then there was like a little tag on the doorknob that said, eat me, this one makes you smaller. And we just thought it was a fun little touch, and we used blue for like Alice, you know. And then you go to the doorway to the garage, which was really cool because my dad actually had cut out these big wooden keyholes and painted them black and attached them to the doors. So when you first like look in through the doorway, you can kind of like see the tea party setup that we have in there, which I thought was like one of like the coolest like things. Like when you just look in, it just looks very like on brand and Alice in Wonderlandy. Yeah, my dad did make these out of wood and he like used a saw and everything, but if you did want to recreate it like in a cheaper way, I would just use just attach a couple pieces of Bristol board together and cut them out in the shape. Now I will say these did get walked into like a lot, because obviously who's used to walking in through a keyhole? So if you did make them out of paper, they might get damaged by the end of the night. But yeah, I think they really helped to like kind of like set the overall like mood of the parties. They were very, very cool. When you walk into the party, off to the right, we have basically like the food table where we had all like the food and stuff set up. But then above that, we had these hanging teacups that were made out of paper. I'll link the template down below if I can find it again. But basically, we just printed out this template onto patterned paper, cut it out and glued it together, which made like a paper teacup. Now, I'll give my mom a lot of credit for these because I only did one and she did all the rest of them. So she hung them in like a little string and hung them from the little like ceiling there. So yeah, everyone was like really enthralled with those teacups, and everyone like thought they were really cool, and also thought she was kind of crazy for making that many of them because they were very tedious to cut out. But I think there's something really cool to make that like if you already have the paper, you can make like completely for free. Highly recommend if you do want to make some like fake teacups, because obviously it's kind of dangerous to hang real teacups from the ceiling. She also hung just like an old teapot that she had, and she added some little bit of like vines, and the vines are actually just like a lei from like a luau section of a party store that she just cut up. Underneath of that, we just stuck some balloons on the wall. But then you turn to the left a little bit, and then we get to like the painting the roses red / the tea party section. So the wall in the back, basically, we have this like brick backdrop that we use for every single party. Like we do a lot of Halloween parties and stuff like that. And since it's my dad's garage, he has like a bunch of toolboxes and stuff in behind that. So we just use that brick backdrop to cover up all the toolboxes and stuff. Along the brick backdrop, we had 3 of the heart trees with the roses, and these were made using foam core paint, tissue paper, and crepe streamers. So the roses were made by just twisting crepe streamers up into like a little bunch, and then we glued them onto the foam core that was already cut into a heart. For the leaves on the trees, we took little tiny squares of tissue paper, and we took a pencil and twisted it around the end and then glued it on. Again, this is something that's like extremely tedious, but in the long run, like I think it turned out really cool. I think it looked a lot better rather than if we just had painted the foam core. For some reason, when you paint foam core, it just like curves like in. We painted a lot of foam core, and every time we painted it, it just decided to like curve. It's probably from the moisture of the paint, but we also cut out some stems for the trees and just painted them with paint and glued them together, and then we taped them onto the wall. The card men are made using Bristol board and then just some other construction paper cut into the pieces, and then we just glued it all together. And then my mom made like a little banner at the top that said painting the roses red, which again was just like made using the same method as everything else, just like a brown paper, and then we used stencils to cut out the red letters and glue them on. Or in front of the wall, we had the tea party table. The tea party table was just like a table. We put a purple and pink tablecloth on it, and then for the table runner, we used a bunch of doilies and glued them all together to make like a table runner in the center. And then my mom just randomly had these cute little like tea party like tray type things. Like she had like a cupcake stand, a cake stand, and then like this other stand, and they were just like cardboard that she just randomly had that worked with the theme perfectly. So we put those on that table, and then we tried to recreate the unbirthday cake. So the unbirthday cake was made out of like just box like funfetti cake mix, and if you do want to recreate this, like I'm not a baker, so like I don't know anything about making cakes really, but if you do want to recreate the cake, highly recommend using a dense cake, not something soft like the funfetti cake, because our cake really squished down on the bottom and ended up leaning off to one side. The cake was 4 layers. I slimmed it down on the bottom, painted it pink with icing, and then added some white detailing and added the candles on the top. If you've seen Alice in Wonderland, you know what the unbirthday cake looks like, so yeah, I did my best, okay? It wasn't great, but you get the idea. Moving off to the left a little bit more, we had like this just blank spot where we put garbage bags, and I just used some white streamers to create like the kind of like vortex thing, because at the end of the movie Alice is like, she's like running towards the keyhole and she like sees herself sleeping under the tree, and like there's these bunch of like swirly clouds and stuff and everyone's chasing her. So we just kind of tried to like recreate that using streamers and taped it into a swirl and onto the wall, and that was that. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Then we had a second keyhole that my dad cut out. I was the one that actually painted that one black, so there's a little bit of footage of me painting it black. Nothing too crazy. Like the bottom of it had like this much, so you had to step over, and people kept kicking it by accident. Obviously we knew that was gonna happen, so it did actually, the bottom broke off. We have like our whole wall of like, supposed to be like the Wonderland forest. So my mom got a bunch of trees from outside and stuck them to the wall, and we stuck like a bunch of flowers and stuff along the wall, and my mom printed out like some of the actual faces from the flowers in the movie and stuck them to this bouquet of flowers that she had. I think they were just like flowers from the dollar store or something, but she just kind of clustered them into like a little patch and stuck the faces in that she had printed out from the computer, and it made it look like the singing flowers from Alice in Wonderland. We had my niece's stuffed Cheshire cat sitting in the tree. We had some mushrooms on the ground that were just painted out of cardboard. With the caterpillar, and mom painted that on cardboard and cut it out and everything, and that was part of the scene. For the Who Are You, that the caterpillar is like, you know how he smokes like a pipe kind of thing, we glued cotton balls to the garbage bags on the wall in the shape of obviously the letters Who Are You. My mom also went through the huge trouble of trying to make like hanging, I think they're either called listeria or wisteria, these like hanging purple flowers. So those are made out of purple paper, and each flower was cut individually and then strung on a string with thread with beads in between each flower. I didn't do any of the stringing together, but I did help her cut out the flowers, and that was tedious work, but I think they really looked cool like hanging off like the real trees that we had in there. And something cool that my dad did was he got these little like pot lights that like sat on the floor, and they had like different colors, like sometimes they were red and sometimes they were purple, just shining up, just to kind of create like the whole like aura of like Wonderland and the colors that are infused in the movie. So then we go on to the Royal Croquet Court. So my mom had like this little sign cut out of paper that said Royal Croquet Court, and again it's just like paper with stenciled letters all glued together on like a little stand. So we had like a croquet set just like randomly that we never use. So I took some pink Bristol board and I drew out the flamingo that Alice uses to hit the little hedgehog as a croquet ball. So I cut out 3 of those and I glued them onto the croquet sticks, and we just set them there so people could use them as photo props. And at the top of that there was this sign that said "Off with your head," I think. It was just like a brown piece of paper with the red stenciled letters on it again. And then underneath of that there was these 2 doilies that I had drawn on like 2 of the old like art style drawings. Like I drew the rabbit on one of them and I drew the cat on one of them. My original idea was to use those and draw a bunch of them for the table runner, but I ran out of time. It would have looked kind of weird if we just put 2 of those on the table, so I ended up sticking them on the wall because we had this big blank spot on the wall there, so we just stuck them on the wall there. And then you get to one of the coolest parts. It's the head cutout. So my dad bought a snowblower recently, and this may sound unrelated, but trust me, it's related. It came in a big box, and I hope you can see where this is going, but my mom used the big box to, well, actually she got Paige, my sister, to draw the outline of the queen, and then I helped her paint it in and everything, and they cut out the head hole so that we could have like a photo booth kind of thing, so everyone could stick their head in and, you know, be the Queen of Hearts. My dad ended up screwing it to like this wood plank, and like it had posts to hold it up, because obviously since it's just made out of cardboard we needed a way for it to stand up, so my dad like made posts and everything out of wood for it to stand on. Pretty much when you go over to the next table, it was just a table that had some snacks and just some random little things that my mom had put there. Like she put a mouse in a teapot. She had like a hat that she kind of dressed up to look like the Mad Hatter's hat. She had a couple of those hats that had like little spinny thingy on it that looked kind of like the Tweedledee and Tweedledum hats. And that was pretty much everything that we put together for the party.
Dream up a world of pirates, climb the highest tree, fall down. Mama, I'm fine, don't worry. Go back out to sea, sail
staying safe and having a great day at home watching YouTube. And if you guys are bored at home because you're being quarantined and all that stuff, come check out my Instagram. You can check out my TikTok because there's all kinds of stuff there. I do have a vlog channel where there's all kinds of videos. There's like 300 videos over there. So if you're feeling like you're bored, you know what? You might as well just head over there and check out some stuff. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys on Friday with a brand new video. Thanks so much for watching.